I still remember a moment you're sitting, standing in a client's office, realizing I had made a promise I couldn't fully keep. The strange part, the more impossible it seemed, the more determined I became to prove it right. I wasn't defending the project anymore. I was defending my decision. We all do this. In business, in relationships, even in small everyday choices. Once you take a stand, we don't just act on it, we become it. And that hidden force can turn smart people into stubborn ones, or leaders in religions. In this video, we will explore why we find it so hard to let go once we have made a choice, why we dumber down even when we shouldn't, and how to use that same psychology to live, sell, and grow without manipulation. All the insights you are about to hear come from one of the most powerful books on human behavior ever written, Influence, by Dr. Robert Cialdini. I can start with a quick story. A few years ago, I said yes to building a product I wasn't ready to make. The client was big, the timeline was tight, and we had gaps in our capabilities. A colleague warned me to slow down, but I had already communicated. I told the client, told my team, even told myself a story. Beyond the kind of shock that Billy was under fire. From that moment, I wasn't just managing a project. I was defending my identity. The more problems we heap, the more I double down. Costs balloon, weekends vanished. I kept telling myself, we have come this far, we can't pull back now. Why was I so sure after the commitment when I had been cautious before? What flips in our brains the moment we take a stand? And how can we flip that same switch intentionally to produce better outcomes at work and in life? Hoard that talk. Let's visit a restaurant. Two Canadian psychologists noticed something odd. Right after people placed a bet on a horse, they felt more confident the horse would win than they did before placing it. The thing about the horse changed. What changed was the bettor's commitment. Once you take a stand, a powerful internal pressure pushes us to act and feel in line with that choice. We want to be consistent with our word, with our identity, and with how others see us. This isn't rare, it's routine. And when we are unaware of it, we can get trapped. But when we are aware of it, we can leverage it to lead teams, influence customers, and protect ourselves from bad days. Commitments, no matter how small, do matter a lot. Let me tell you about an experiment by psychologist Thomas Moriarty that illustrates the same. Psychologist Thomas Moriarty set up a scene on a New York beach. An accomplice asked a stranger, "Could you watch my things?" A few minutes later, another accomplice stole the radio. If no one asks to watch my things, almost nobody intervened. But if they had agreed, even casually, 19 out of 20 chased the thief down. That is commitment in action. Tiny pledge, massive follow through. And it made me rethink how I start things in my own work. When I kick off a project now, I don't ask for a huge yes. I ask for a tiny one. Can I send you a one-page outline and get a simple yes or no by tomorrow? The first yes creates momentum without pressure. Similarly, when I am in a sales or scoping call, I will ask, On a scale of 1 to 10, how close is this to what you need? And why that number? The number doesn't just tell me where we are, it quietly turns them into someone who already sees value. Here is another example in context of personal relationships. Consider Sarah, a young lady who lives a shaky relationship, gets engaged to someone new, then chooses to go back when her ex promises to change. The promises evaporate, yet her devotion grows. Why does she go back to her ex? Because once she chose him, her mind had to make that choice feel right. We humans rewrite our stories. You keep them consistent with our commitments, even when the facts contradict us. Before you commit to something big, pause for a moment. Picture it falling apart. Ask yourself, if this goes wrong, what warping signs would I wish I had seen? And always leave yourself an exit ramp, a way to skip back, rethink, or change course without shame. Because sometimes staying consistent isn't courage, it's just the fear of being seen as inconsistent. And when that fear mixes with hope, it can make us do strange things. Cialdini tells a story about a transcendental meditation seminar. A packed room, 2 speakers, and a promise. Inner peace, maybe even the power to fly. Halfway through, a logician in the audience raises his hand and calmly dismantles every point they made. The room goes silent. You would expect people to walk out, right? Instead, the line to sign up wraps around the room. Why? Because for many of them, this wasn't about logic anymore. They had been searching for something to believe in. And when logic threatened to take that away, they paid immediately. Not for the course, but for an emotional relief. Commitment felt safer than doubt. You see this same pattern in small ways almost every line. Think about charity callers who start with, "How are you today?" You say, "Good." And a minute later, they ask if you would like to help people who aren't doing so well. Now, after admitting you are doing fine, saying no offense scorned. That tiny statement, "I am good," quietly opens the door to a yes. So, how to use this the right way? Use honest framing, not tricks. Ask simple questions that invite clarity, not guilt. For example, if this idea helps you save even an hour a week, would you consider trying it? It is still influence, but it's built on understanding, not manipulation. There is a simple but powerful truth about human behavior. Once we say yes to something small, it becomes easier to say yes again. Psychologists call it the foot in the door effect, and the story that proved it is almost unbelievable. A researcher once knocked on doors in a quiet California neighborhood, asking people to put a massive, ugly billboard on their front lawns that read, "Drive carefully." Most people said no. Of course, who would want their home turned into a roadside sign? But here is where it gets interesting. Another group of homeowners, just a few weeks earlier, had agreed to a tiny request, putting the small sticker in their window that said, "Be a safe driver." That's it, a harmless, strange sticker. 2 weeks later, when asked about the billboard, 76% of them said yes. Back-living sticker had changed how they saw themselves. They were not just homeowners anymore. They were responsible citizens who take action. And when the bigger request came along, they wanted to stay consistent with that new identity. We do the same thing all the time. You say yes to just a quick demo call, and before you know it, you are signing up for the yearly plan. Or you agree to help a friend for a weekend, and suddenly you are the project leader. It all starts with once more yes. When I reach out to someone now, I don't ask for the word. I start small. Can I send you a quick 2-minute walkthrough and you tell me if it's worth another look? That single low pressure ask gets the ball rolling. Because here is the secret. Once someone takes the first small step, their mind starts whispering, "Why have to pay your person will force them?" And that identity, not persuasion, is what carries the rest of the journey forward. But identity doesn't just live in our heads. It gets stronger when we see it, when we put it into words. That's why what we write matters. There is something almost magical about writing things down. The Chinese used it in their camps, not force, just paper and pay. They would ask prisoners to write small, harmless statements like, "The UBS isn't perfect." Once written, those words became anchors. It's hard to deny what's in your own handwriting. That's the power of written commitment. It's not just an idea anymore. It's evidence to yourself and to everyone who sees it. That's why I write goals, promises, even decisions. Because the moment ink hits paper, my mind starts working to make it true. Writing makes it real, but making it public makes it powerful. The moment others see our words, something inside us tightens. We want to stay consistent, not just for ourselves, but for how we are seen. That's why people stick to public goals. Why juries rarely change their minds after raising a hand, and why posting day 1 of my fitness journey suddenly makes you show up on day 2. When I said wisdom, I shared just one with the right people. Not to impress them, but to stay accountable to the version of me they believe in. And if writing makes it real, effort makes it sacred. From ancient tribes to modern wood camps, humans have always valued what they have struggled for. The harder the initiation, the stronger the loyalty. That's why a tough project, a startup brand, or a challenging new habit feels different. You have earned it. Effort turns commitment into pride. So when something feels hard, I remind myself, this struggle is what makes it matter. Let us summarize all that we learn. We have seen how a small yes can grow into a belief, how written words can bind us, and how effort can turn pain into pride. But the real power lies in using this knowledge consciously, not to trap ourselves or others, but to guide behavior with clarity and integrity. So, 1. Start small, but start is raw. Tiny commitments create motion, but they should align with your values, not ego. 2. Write it down. In turns intention into evidence. When you see your goals in writing, they stop being thoughts and start becoming directions. 3. Share wisely. Public promises create accountability, but only when shared with people who want to see you grow, not judge you fail. 4. Respect effort. The harder the path, the stronger the bond. Don't shy away from struggle. Just make sure it's in service of something meaningful. 5. Question blind consistency. Before doubling down, pause and ask, If I weren't already in, would I start this today? Because true strength isn't about never changing course. It's about knowing when to stay and when to stay away. And yes, do you remember my project? We shipped, laid, and over budget. When I look back at that project I once defended so fiercely, I realized I was not fighting for the work. I was fighting for my consistency. It taught me something simple but lasting. Commitment is powerful, but only when it serves truth, not pride. Now, every time I make a choice, a new venture, a new idea, even a new habit, I ask myself, is this a promise I still want to keep? If the answer is yes, I go all in. If it's no, I let it go without shame. Because real growth isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to release. If this helped you understand yourself a little better, save it, share it, or send it to someone who is standing at a crossroads. And if you'd like me to cover the other principles from influence, like reciprocity, social proof, authority, and scarcity, let me know in the comments. Until next time, stay thoughtful about what you commit to, because every year you give writes the next chapter of who you become.